Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. A little behind on that, of course. As most of you know, I was in the hospital for almost a week. Um, Wanted to give just a quick update. I guess this will be considered my weekly update. I apologize ahead of time if I look over a lot. Candy, you gonna say hello? Oh, say hi, everyone. I feel like I'm talking to my child right now, so pay no mind if I look over at her. But let's see here. So, trying to give a recap from the last video. So, realistically, over the last 2 weeks, my family has been sick. Perks of daycare. Ellison had a double ear infection the week of my first chemo, and she had a cough going on too. So, it's kind of like she had the croup. So what I didn't realize until after spending a week in the hospital and lots of talking with doctors is that I pretty much set myself up for failure for my first chemo session, unbeknownst to myself. My daughter's germs were all over me when I walked into this situation. And so, the biggest pro and con of going through chemo is that the whole point of chemo is to knock down my white blood cell count to a very low rate so that it is killing off the cancer, which is a good thing, which I need that to happen. But at the same time, it makes me very prone to infection, which we have now learned. And so I didn't realize going forward that I had already had Ellison's germs on me. And so on the 20th of December, that was my first chemo. Yes, it was the 20th. And then it was pretty much from like the day of my chemo throughout the next handful of days, Matt got really sick. And we definitely did not do our best at staying away from each other. We were not masked up like we should be. We definitely were not cleaning like we should be. And so we were sharing the same bed, and the worst situation was sleeping next to him at night because, he'd hack and God only knows what I was breathing in. So I had that not working for me either. So Ellie, she had meds and whatnot from her ear infection and everything. So she had been on the mend, but she still was having a little bit of a cough. Matt, after almost a week of being sick, found out he had bronchitis. So clearly the funk was in my house. I was doing okay until Christmas Day. So up until Christmas Day, like even with going through chemo, I was feeling pretty decent. Very, very little symptoms, barely any nausea. It was more, if anything, I guess, that's probably just my nerves and stress of being, oh my gosh, is this little headache something chemo related? Is this, a cough? I mean, everything. Any little symptom that was happening, I was like, did I just sneeze for the hell of it? Or is this somehow related to chemo? So, my nerves were just kind of shot over not knowing what to anticipate. And so Christmas Day, I was just a mess. I was exhausted. I was hacking. I was, a lot of congestion going on. I had a mild fever happening. It never got over 100. So, the hospital or the oncologist is not concerned unless it hits like 100.4 and beyond. So it was like 99 the whole time. But of course, I called them, I made sure, and pretty much, I couldn't go to the doctor, I couldn't do anything because it was Christmas Day. So I spent Christmas Day at home. Matt stayed in bed. My daughter luckily got picked up, which I just realized right now as I'm talking that this was part of my last video, but it gets better. So, my daughter had a great Christmas. That's all that mattered to me. So then the next day I went to urgent care. Urgent care assumed I had pneumonia. So they started treating me for pneumonia. And they were giving me heavy meds because they knew that I had had chemo. They knew my white blood cell count was more than likely down. We didn't do blood work, but they just wanted to get me some meds rolling ASAP. Try to beat this. So then by Sunday, I spent 4 days on meds. I mean, really good meds. And I still wasn't 100% better, but I wasn't having a fever at all. Unfortunately, on Sunday, my grandfather passed away. And so, which a lot of you might not have known, he had dementia and pulmonary fibrosis. So this was a situation of, I was already able to make bed with the situation. My grandpa was suffering for a long time. So I'm so happy he's not suffering anymore. But thank you for all the prayers and concerns. There were so many of you that reached out. And the family handled it, as best as we could with the circumstances. But that night, after getting to say goodbye to him, we went back to my grandmother's house, and within the hour, an hour tops, I was sitting on the couch and I had a blanket on me. I was freezing my butt off. I don't know how or why, but I had the cold sweats happening. I was like, man, something ain't right. So we checked my temperature and it was 99. I'm like, okay. Well, we kept checking it. So it went from like 99 to 100.3, 100.9, 101.5. And so, of course, at 100.9, at that point, I reached out and got a hold of my oncologist, and he said I need to get to the ER. I need to get in, get blood work, and forewarned me that if my white blood cell count was too low, I was going to get admitted. And so by the time I got to the hospital, I had, of course, I went to Emory and Johns Creek, and man, their emergency room lobby is the smallest lobby I've ever been in. I've been in an urgent care that has a bigger lobby than that. And there literally was nowhere to sit. It was that busy. And if you walked in, you saw there were people with masks, with blankets, with those red chairs on wheels that they have that, guide you around or whatnot. I don't know what they call those, but it was just insane. And I'm like freaking out, like with my mask on. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a sitting duck right now. And this is terrifying because there's so much sickness in this tiny space and I feel terrible and this is not good for me. And so luckily we found like 2 chairs, the only 2 chairs, like off to the corner away from like the main group. So that was relieving. But after 2 hours of waiting, perks of the ER, and it's really busy. I went in and my temperature at that point was 101.5. We did my blood work. So my white blood cell count, the day I had my first chemo, was 5.8, which is really good. That's like above and beyond being able to fight off infection. When I was in the ER, though, it was a 1. So that's like as low can get. Then I found out that I became neutropenic, which is just a big fancy word for very, very low, severely low white blood cell count. And it just, me being sick, it's not making it easy for me to fight off the sickness. And so I ended up getting admitted, and I spent a week getting poked left and right. I've had blood work 2 to 3 times a day at one point. I was getting really, really heavy. Probably from what I've been informed by my mother-in-law is the strongest antibiotics you can get. Not realizing, though, until after I got out of the hospital, that we were never even treating my crud, my sickness. They told me at the hospital they think I had bronchitis. But I was there for 3 or 4 days before finally a nurse offered me Robitussin, which sounds stupid, but I couldn't tell you how much I had hacked and coughed really bad in front of nurses and doctors, and no one said shit. And then this one nurse was just like, would you like some Mucinex and some Robitussin? And I was like, I didn't even know I was allowed to have that. So, a random note for anybody who's never been to the hospital, like myself. The only time I've ever gone and had to stay was when my daughter was born. So that was a different experience. Ask all the questions you can. Make sure they are taking care of not just one specific issue, that they're taking care of you completely. So, because if I had been given medication for my bronchitis since I'd been there, I probably still wouldn't be sick right now. Because, of course, getting home last night, I didn't come to my house. I actually stayed at my in-laws' house because my husband now has the flu. My daughter is still sick. She went to urgent care on Monday night with a high fever. She had a virus. So I was already told, stay completely away from her. Don't go anywhere near her for so many days. Which that was just you talk about a crushed moment. I got so upset. Which, of course, I understand. I need to stay away. I need to stay away from sickness. But To be told you can't see your kid is the worst feeling ever, ever. And to be stuck in a hospital room with nobody there and be told that on top of it, terrible. You talk about my mental state was tested while I was there. Thank goodness for all the visitors, though. That made a big difference. The staff was very sweet, though, too, so that helped. But, each day I slowly got a little better and a little better. My white blood cell count was starting to go up, but my ANC needed to at least be 500. And so up until Thursday, like 280 was my highest. And then Thursday hit, and out of nowhere, it jumped to 550. And my white blood cell count was up to 2.6 at that point. So that almost doubled. So I don't know what I did. That hospital food must have been pretty good on Wednesday, because I don't know what I did different, but everything came back really good. And I felt great. And so I managed to leave on Thursday afternoon. But now everything's changed. So I'm finally in my house. As you can tell, hello, it's a mess. My husband, I made him switch me spots. So he's staying with Ma. He's going to get to feeling better. My daughter has been at my grandmother's house. My grandma has been amazing with helping with Ellie. She's just been so good and such support with everything going on and trying to help us in any way we can right now. So I'm going to be spending my whole evening super duper scrubbing down my house. I'm really excited about this. If you got any tips or tricks, let me know. But obviously the only other big news is I shaved my head. Hello. I'm so happy I did it. I couldn't have been happier. I didn't cry once. I know I've had a few people ask me that now. I just, I knew no matter how it looked to others, I didn't give a shit. I was going to be happy. I was going to be comfortable. We were actually going to wait until after I got out of the hospital, but I managed to finally take a shower on Wednesday. And when I got out of the shower, I looked down and there was so much hair in the shower. And I don't shed that much in the shower. So I was like, well, my hair's been nasty, so I'm not, worried about it yet. But then I sat down to try to comb my hair. And I barely had to comb it. I mean, I literally could have just gone like this, just very gracefully. And you talk about, I had a wad like that big. And so I was just like, all right, that's it. So we shaved my head on Wednesday night. And I couldn't be happier. I can't believe all that gray. It's crazy, but it's such a relief. And I'm not having any crazy, I was really having in the hospital, I had some really trippy feeling on my head. Like if you've ever had a blow dryer to your hair and you've left it in one spot too long, that's what it felt like all over my head. And it hurt to touch. And it was very sensitive and scratchy. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? Well, my chemo was kicking in. So I didn't realize that it was going to kick that fast. But what a lot of you don't know is that my dose of chemo right now is very high. A lot higher than normal. So I actually didn't even I was supposed to have my second round of chemo today. And we had to cancel because I wasn't, not 100% better yet, blood work wise. But also we need to go back and readjust my dosing. So my next round is not going to be till next Friday now. And we're going to have to lower the dose by like 20%. The good thing is, though, is I won't have to make up the amount of the dosing that I will have missed. So we're still going to try to keep... Oh, I'm sorry. I had a popsicle. I didn't... I didn't realize this has just been laying here. So I know one of y'all are going to get halfway through this video and be like, what the hell's on your shirt? Oh my God, that would be my luck right now. At least I was able to laugh about it. Anywho, so yeah, I'll get chemo Friday, lower dose. The only other thing I found out while I was in the hospital is I've actually started menopause. So random fact, chemo can start you into menopause super early apparently. And you talk about some hot flashes. Oh my gosh. It is another level of hot flashes. It's not like, oh, I'm just like right now. I've got one. I'm actually beginning of a hot flash right now. You might not know that, but it might be a little flush in the face. But the worst hot flash I've had yet was actually during my haircut. And when we took that apron off, my back was dripping in sweat. So, has its pros and cons for sure of menopause, I guess. But I didn't anticipate at 34 to be going through this already. So, I guess I gotta make do. This was gonna be big changes. So, anywho, enough of me rambling. I'm going on like 15 minutes again. But I wanted to make sure to check in, give an update. I hope everyone's doing well. I can't wait to finally get out of this house and start seeing some people. So I'm going back to work Monday all masked up and ready to go. So feel free to, check in on me anytime. Hope you all like my hair like I do. I love it. I love it so much. It feels so good. So we got to do a little touch-up work. My cousin is amazing. He did the best he could. He stood in a bathroom with me with a giant pole of fluids attached to my arm and shaved it as best he could for me. So I'm super happy with how it looks, and I'm super happy to be home. Oh, such a great feeling. And I'm glad that I'm just in general feeling better. So thank you all so much for checking in and sending the good vibes and positivity and prayers. And I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.